Welcome to our series, Moving America Forward. Each week we'll be focusing on America's entrepreneurs as they take us to new roads, new opportunities, new ways to fill the gaps left by today's failing companies. Our series will be looking at that and a lot more. So come with me and watch as the entrepreneurs of our nation move into the future.
And I'm Doug Llewellyn here in our studios in Los Angeles with our guests today are here from the community of Aurora, Oregon. It's a very interesting story about Aurora. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Back in the mid-1800s, as I understand it, Aurora, Oregon was one of the most successful of American communal societies. It consisted of some 600 people who lived together and followed the basic Christian beliefs of their founder, Dr. William Kyle. His philosophy centered on following the golden rule. It was God above everything else, and love your neighbor as thyself. And they did. For example, if somebody had a roof that needed repair, the whole community pitched in to repair that roof. It was that way. Well, it happened to fall apart after about 30 years when the doctor died. But now, in Aurora, here well over 100 years later after his death, there is an effort to try and recreate that kind of community in Aurora, and our guests are here to tell us all about it. I'd like you to meet them now. First on my left, Conrad Pearson, and on his left is Bonnie Conger. They are friends of Aurora, and they are members of the Aurora Colony Historical Society. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Bonnie, let me point out that before we actually began here a little while ago, you had a chance to answer some questions from William Shatner. Yes. So let's take a look at a brief portion of that and see how it went. Okay? And then we'll be back. Let's watch.
I know you've been successful, and to make that happen takes a good organization. Tell me how you would describe your organization and what they do to help move America forward.
Mr. Shatner, we're helping to move America forward by promoting a way of life that goes back to biblical times, a way of life where cities and communities share their resources with their neighbors and help one another, ultimately creating a sustainable environment and a place to work and live where people take care of themselves.
You know, that was really very, very interesting. I know you both know a lot about the history of Aurora. You actually live in Aurora. Yes. Tell me a little bit about what it must have been like back then in the mid-1800s.
Well, Doug, as you pointed out, during the 1800s, there were numerous attempts at utopias in the United States.
Right.
Most of them on the East Coast and the Midwest. Aurora was the first and one of the most successful ones on the West Coast. It was very radical living. Love God above everything, love their neighbors as themselves, and they did it. But they didn't do it in a way that was austere. They knew how to have fun. For example, their music. The Aurora Colony Band was in much demand even after the colony was disbanded. It was considered to be the premier Oregon brass band, and they were playing well into the 1920s. They had very, very delicious food. Even though it was simple food, it was so good that most of the trains going from California through Oregon would stop in Aurora for the food, even though Portland Terminal was a mere 28 miles further north. They had beer, they had whiskey, and it's said that the spirit of Aurora is what led to the creation of the Oregon State Fair.
Really?
But even though they had fun, they were also scholarly. The first Oregon graduate of Harvard came from the now defunct Aurora school system. But they never lost sight of their mission. Love God above everything, love their neighbors as themselves. And they did that, as you pointed out, until Dr. Kyle died at 65 of a heart attack. But unlike many other utopian experiences which crashed and burned after the founder died, Aurora was amicably unwound. And eventually they built a museum around the memory. And what we're doing is to take that memory out of the museum, revise it to meet current conditions, and make it work again. Not just for Aurora, but for other communities in the country.
That really sounds fascinating. You're taking a lot of these concepts and applying them in that community today. I understand everything you do, or a lot of what you do, really is involved for charity. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Explain that.
Well, we work through the Aurora Colony Historical Society Museum, which has its own nonprofit status. We've been really privileged to work with the curator and the board members of the museum, as well as the two pastors who live in Aurora, the Presbyterian one and the Lutheran one. Our projects are financed through private and often anonymous donations set up in the Jacob Miller Fund. And Jacob Miller was the old colony business manager, so it seemed like an appropriate way to honor him. When the colony was disbanded in 1853, he was heartbroken.
Tell me about Aurora Colony Day. That's one of the big things that's coming up, right?
It's held
happens?
annually,
Okay.
the second Saturday in August, and it celebrates the history of Aurora, which is actually older than the state of Oregon itself. And there's a parade, a fun run and walk, art fair and sale, street fair, and of course, as you would expect, music and food. And Aurora today is very famous for all of its antique shops, and they are open and ready for business, so people love to go there for that. What we're going to be doing on that day, Colony Day, is introducing our 100 Strong program. And hopefully it will celebrate the future of Aurora.
Well, tell me about the 100 Strong program. What is it?
Well, as you pointed out, one of the hallmarks of the colony was helping your neighbors, yourself.
Right.
And so what we're doing is to get back in the spirit of that. 100 households will receive $100 each, and they will be asked to go out and find a person, a family, an organization, a cause that could use with that money, and then give it to them. And we're going to do it primarily through junior high school and high school students, because I think investing in our youth is one of the best ways that we can use our investment dollars.
How do you pick those who are going to get the $100? And the $100 come from donations, right?
Well, maybe I can talk to that. Sure. We have a very simple application form. We're going to be distributing it through the churches, through people who know people. It's just a small form, just saying that they commit to it.
And we're also anticipating that people will fly in for this, because the Aurora Airport is the 4th busiest in the state. And we're already heard indications that people will fly in to participate in this program.
What do you expect to happen when the people get this $100?
I think we're basically engineered to want to help one another. But just like if there's water under the ground and you have an old-fashioned pump, you can't just pump on the pump and hope to get water out of it. You have to prime the pump with water to get water. So what we're doing in essence is priming this through donations to them, and they go out, and we're hoping this will become habit forming.
But you hope also that some people may add more to the $100.
We're hoping that, well, first of all, if they need it themselves, spend it on themselves.
That's
no
another
strings
thing I was
attached.
going to point out. If they need the money, they have the permission to use it
They have
themselves.
permission to use themselves.
But you don't think they're going to do that, do you?
I don't think so. I think they will go out and I hope a lot of them will even add their own money to it.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a lot more money going out to help people.
What about the music scholarships? $1,000 music scholarships are going to go to 6 people, as I understand.
Yeah, they did this spring.
That's happened.
Yes.
How did that come
happened.
about?
Well, that was one of our ideas to support the music that Aurora was so well known for.
Right.
So we had a competition between, and there were a number of schools. Music students played 2 songs, I'm sorry. One was from the Old Colony book, and one was of their own choosing. They were judged by board members and their own music teachers. And one of the high school teachers told us that it was such a shot in the arm to their department. It was really exciting when the kids heard that they were going to be getting $1,000 each. The winners have gone ahead and participated individually at various events in Aurora. And we're already talking about having cooking and artwork competitions in the future, which are other things that were very strongly represented in Aurora of past years.
I mean, it sounds great. You live there. What's it like living in Aurora?
It's a very calm, although it is very much representative of America. They have their issues, they have their problems with it. People get upset with each other, but it's a very nice, calm place to live, and I've enjoyed the year and a half we've been there.
I know you run a business elsewhere in another community nearby, and then, that's like your home when you come home for the day, and you live nearby too.
Yeah.
Why are you both doing this? I mean, you both could be, you know, sitting on your laurels and having a good time. But
I
you're out
ask
here
Conrad
pitching.
that all the time, you know. And my retirement lasted 3 weeks. Tell him why we're doing this.
We want to make a difference. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
In the time that we have been talking here, almost 300 people around the world have died of starvation. And 80% of those are children under the age of 5. During the biblical times, people died of starvation because there were famines. There simply wasn't enough food. Today, we have more than enough food to feed every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. So why is one person every 3 seconds dying a senseless death? In my opinion, it's because there just aren't enough people who love their neighbor as themselves to want to make a difference. So that's what we're trying to do, is to have more and more people want to take care of their neighbor. And where else to start this than Aurora, because they did it better than anyone else on the West Coast.
And what kind of feedback are you getting from the other members of the community with this effort now? I mean, is it catching on, do you think? Are you getting a good feedback so far?
I think we're getting a very good feedback. The Colony Museum Board is behind this and supportive of it, and I think as evidenced by our music contest, where there were 16 contestants the first time, now there's 50 wanting to try it for next time. And if we do art, and if we do cooking, and a whole lot of emphasis on, again, junior high school and high school students to invest in the future, so that I think we adults were too set in our ways often to really see significant changes, but if we can help changes on that level, it'll be more permanent.
So do you think there is hope that Aurora could conceivably recreate what existed, you know, over 100 years ago?
Well, it doesn't take very much to do make a difference or do loving acts of kindness. You don't have to do a big major project. You don't have to spend a lot of money. It's just doing small acts of love for each other. It can be, you know, providing a meal to a shut-in, or going to visit, you know, somebody who's elderly and doesn't have company. We're trying to do this.
You're trying to make it work.
We're trying to make it work.
Well, I must tell you, if it does work, I think you will have achieved something really terrific. And I wish you all the good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This organization represents companies across our great nation that embody the spirit, dedication, know-how, and can-do attitude which has made America the great nation that it is today. And now let's present the Keeping America Strong Award.
Now it is my honor to give this prestigious award to our guests from Aurora, Oregon, for the outstanding work that they are doing to help keep moving America forward. Conrad, let me hand this to you. Congratulations.
Thank you, and want to thank the citizens, the wonderful citizens of Aurora, and the terrific staff and the board of directors of the museum.
Well, you certainly can, and you have.
Thank you for having us here. We enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.